We have the CEO of Archetype and also AKA Value here, Nicholas Lyons. And Nicholas has had an Archetype has had a vision of using technology like what Verus has created for quite some time, and also has a very valuable portfolio that, and it has patents, broad patents that enable very secure hardware wallet, hardware ID technologies. It is as a recognized value. I can say, I don't want to actually put numbers on it, but it's quite significant. And we have been discussing, and Archetype/Value is working on mutualizing this patent portfolio through the launch of a currency that we expect to be launched on the Verus network when these technologies get to mainnet, called Value. And so what we're going to do today, this is not a solicitation for investment. This is not a recommendation of investment. This is a technical discussion and a dry run to go through this with Archetype, with Nicholas. And because we're doing it on the Verus testnet, we thought that we would also record this auspicious moment and have an opportunity to show others what we're doing that makes this technology so unique and fit so well with the kind of use case that we're describing, which is really mutualizing this patent portfolio and the technology, and making it possible for all licensing of this patent portfolio in whatever tier, whether it's a small, expensive hardware key that can be made in a consumer device, snapped out of plastic, that Archetype has already shipped over 20 million of, or if it's a secure hardware key that leverages Verus ID and stores a key so privately that even the owner of the hardware wallet doesn't have access to it, but still makes it revocable and recoverable thanks to Verus ID technology. Whatever tier they decide to license, they would license by burning, provably, a certain amount of the value currency when this gets to mainnet. So what we're going to do is we're going to launch the value test currency, or a version of it, in this dry run on testnet. And anyone who is using the Verus wallet, and you can see that on screen, this is the actual Verus desktop version 0.7.1-4. Anyone who's using this, in addition to the normal coins, these are actually mainnet coins of Zcash, Bitcoin, and Komodo, you can also connect to the Verus testnet, which is all test coins. None of them have any actual value, whether they're referred to as USD or BTC or ETH or whatever they happen to be. When those tokens are live on the Verus mainnet, they may have a different name, even mapped to the same currencies. So we're using them right now on testnet. And having said all of that, as an introduction, I want to introduce Nicholas Lyons, the CEO, with the vision for the system that we are enabling in this community and that others surely will want to leverage. And Nick, I want to welcome you, and been a part of the community for some time now after learning about Verus, and you've been contributing a lot in many ways, both in donating and contributing development resources. And so I want to thank you for that. And so are you ready to actually do a dry run of the value currency with all of the capabilities that we've been talking about?
I think, first of all, I wanted to say thank you very much to the whole community. It's a pleasure to be a member of such a welcoming and friendly group of people. I think Mike's leadership is something that we can all be proud of. I think the technology is historic in what it can achieve. I've been in the financial markets for my whole career, and this is a major milestone. So I'm extremely proud that we will be able to mutualize and create something of great value that will be able to be shared by all the people that are members of this community and hopefully the wider world. So we're very proud to be members of the community and to have reached this important moment.
Thank you. Thank you for that eloquent and incredible statement. We appreciate having you in the community. So, okay. So what I'm going to do first, I will hop over. Let's get started and actually make this happen. So I am going to just hop right over to the Verus ID tab. I'm looking at my Verus Testnet, and on Verus Testnet, I've got a number of IDs, but as you can see, I have the ID value, and value is not funded. So I am going to fund value as the first step, because when I launch this currency, as we'll see, I'm going to initially contribute currencies in a number of the different reserves that the value currency will be convertible to, will hold in reserves. I'm going to hop over to settings. I'm going to do this quickly for two reasons. One, because it just is a faster way to move multiple currencies with one transaction. And I'm just going to enter a command that I've already copied to make this easy. And I will describe it before I hit enter. It's basically a send currency command. I'm using the built-in command line in the Verus desktop wallet, which works for any of the native currencies supported by the wallet. Verus included, Komodo and asset chains included, Zcash included. I'm sending currency from anywhere in my wallet to the value ID. And I'm sending 4 different types of currency in one transaction. The first entry doesn't specify the type of currency, so it will default to Verus test. I'm going to send 11,000 Verus tests. Second is the USD token on the testnet, and no monetary value in any of these. That is also going to be 11,000. On the testnet, we have Verus test and the USD token have similar values. They're about equal, depending on arbitrage opportunities right now. I'm going to send 1 Bitcoin token, which would on mainnet using the decentralized bridge represent 1 Bitcoin of value. I'm going to send ETH, 3 ETH, the value address. So I'm about ready to hit send. I'll go ahead and do that. I hit run. I get transaction ID back. And now that value ID is funded, and I'm ready to launch the currency. Okay, so let's go through the parameters here and make sure that we're all on the same page about what these mean, what they do. So the first is obviously the name, that's value. We funded the value ID, and so it's got all the funds it needs in the currencies we're going to talk about in a minute to launch this command. The options are flags and options that we add together, and these particular options mean that this is a fractional currency that holds reserves, that it is a token, that it also can be used as a reserve for other currencies. Currencies that are in this reserve, or that are in the reserves of this value currency, as we've discussed, Nick, are, well, Verus test for the dry run, test USD, and the test Bitcoin and ETH tokens. Initial contributions that we just funded the value ID to make, which will be pulled out of the value ID, are $10,000 of each of those currencies using our imaginary pricing of Verus test and the current market pricing of both Bitcoin and Ethereum as examples. But now I want to get to interesting parameters on how this launch will really work. Does all that make sense, Nick, from your perspective? Those are the right currencies. This is the right approach to launching. Does that make sense to you?
Yep, we think that it makes sense that you would want to be able to pay for patents portfolios as commons in Verus Test in this case, Bitcoin, ETH, and US dollars, and that it is good that you can set a minimum in order to guarantee a launch, and the fact that those funds can be returned automatically to those if you do not make that target. So we think that's excellent functionality.
Right, sounds good. I didn't yet go into that feature, so let me real quickly tell everybody what you were referring to. So we're just about to talk about this min pre-conversion, which means that in all of the currencies, these are the amounts that if you do not have this much of a subscription in that currency, the currency will not launch, and everyone will automatically get all of their contributions back in their original currencies, less transfer fee, which is a minimal, basically, network fee. So we have a min pre-conversion that we set at $5 million US dollars, and what that means is that the contribution or the participation in USD on the testnet must be at least $5 million or this won't launch. And the interesting thing to note about that is that the pricing of this currency is dynamic throughout the launch. So if you have $5 million of participation and the currency that launches is completely convertible between all currencies, then it's very likely that you're going to have arbitrage at least, but really people will just have a great deal by putting in the other currencies to match that amount. So there's financial incentive to match that amount, which is why we really need only to specify one minimum on this multi-currency launch. So I did want to mention the max as well, because we're going to do something on this launch that's fair across all participants on the blockchain who participate in the pre-launch. So there is no special connection that you need. You just need to participate in the pre-launch, but there's going to be a maximum, and once you reach that, no one's going to be able to get this this pre-launch benefit, which is a discount to the final launch price of 5%. What that means is any funds used to purchase a currency, this new value currency, in any of the reserve currencies, whether that's Verus Test or USD or ETH or Bitcoin Test tokens, will get a 5% discount to the final on-chain price that you or anyone else will need to buy it for from that point on, subject, of course, to market conversions. So it can go down and it can go up. So does all that make sense?
Yep.
Great. And we talked about final supply of 100,000. Now this is where we discuss what you're really doing that would justify any pre-allocation to archetype. And here's where the fact that you are literally taking a patent portfolio worth, again, I don't want to actually say a number until you actually go public with all of that information. But is it safe and fair for me to say we're talking about medium to large number of millions, like large number of millions of dollars? Is that reasonable?
Yes, it's tens of millions of dollars in terms of current value.
Okay. And so you're taking that licensing, exclusive worldwide perpetual licensing of that entire portfolio, which covers multiple types of devices, as I understand it, and you're going to make it so that the only way to license that means for the devices that you've sent, if you were to make more and send those out, you would also need to do this. Your company would. You're going to basically sell exclusive worldwide licensing rights to that patent portfolio to this currency, such that in order to license patent, so anyone can make these devices, and you're, I understand, expecting to make them as well. And in order to license that patent, someone has to burn that currency, which benefits all holders of that currency. And in exchange for that entire value of that licensing of that portfolio and putting that into the commons through this value currency, that's what this pre-allocation and carve out is for. Correct?
Absolutely. I think we should, we will have the full and final legal wording around that, whether it's a sale or a license, a perpetual license, because it has to be to an entity.
Understood.
But absolutely,
Understood.
that is the economics are exactly as stated. And again, it's a first, I think, for any patent portfolio, and is a major evolution of the state of the art.
Okay. Yeah, super. I mean, super exciting from my perspective, because I have a few patents myself, and as you know, I kind of started to get a little bit soured on the whole patent model, and I love what you're doing, where you're actually taking this entire portfolio, and rather than turning around and doing what well, frankly, a lot of companies might decide to do, which just ends up being more of a trollish move. You're really mutualizing this, that everyone can both benefit from it, and also being a good citizen in the whole thing as you do it, and you're going to turn around and license it the same way, so that everyone benefits from the whole process, as I understand it.
Absolutely. And this doesn't, it comes 24 hours after the congressional hearings on the surveillance capitalists who really monopolize the patent business, and then make it such that inventors who do come up with great ideas are forced into relationships, or are forced to sell their intellectual property to those who are capital holders. And furthermore, there is an enabling system of the venture capital community, which typically will not prosecute patents against these larger companies, because they don't want to prejudice their future benefits. So I think this is a very fair way of enabling people to contribute patents to portfolios as well.
Understood. So in the long run, this is a model. This is the first in a range of possible use cases related to intellectual property, but it's something that really benefits the people as you do it. That's what I like about it. So, right. So these pre-allocations, we've got 25 million of the pre-allocation in this dry run would go to the, and I understand this is not a description of exactly how it might work on the mainnet. This is just a model that we're using as this dry run. We believe that it makes sense, and you're going to work through all of the legal details, as well as the information about how this really will work. But great test for the technology to be able to do all of this. So okay, so the pre-allocation to Archetype, the company you're CEO for, that would be 25 million. Which is 25%, to the Value Foundation. And as I understand it, this is a foundation that you would create with the purpose of leveraging this technology. So effectively, it's going to be holding all of these value coins that can be converted into money, that could be used for purchasing hardware, but it could also be converted into, by being burned, into the licenses that you might then donate to public works projects or use in ways that really benefit society, and kind of work on both the nonprofit charitable side with that, and then still having a company that can work with corporations, help them to create their own currencies using your model, and not just for IP, but for loyalty currencies and all of the other things that I don't want to give away all of the details, because I know you're going to have a lot of information about that later. But basically, the foundation for this to work. So value foundation is how you you have a nonprofit part of this that really helps, in addition to this being owned by the commons, helps to actually secure a part of that, make sure that it goes back to the public good. Is that correct?
Absolutely. The aim of the Value Foundation is, of course, to benefit social credit, social benefits, and social equity, and to bootstrap the network. And of course, by having the licenses, it enables the foundation to partner, as we anticipate, the ATU 1181, the unions, and our COVID-19 projects, which hopefully will be in partnership with Ron Kim in Queens, and the Inclusive Value Ledger, working with Professor Bob Hockett from Cornell. So the aim will be to spread value to all members of society, and the foundation will be using its currency to do that in hardware and in donations. And the community, of course.
Sounds great. And we have also something that we've been discussing. As you know, the Verus Coin project, or the Verus project, is in Verus Coin. Our community efforts. There was no ICO, no pre-mine, and the foundation was started based on donations of early founders. And you've been really kind of joining the community in a way that that effectively helps to, other companies can do this, but you really understood the model, joined, and you've been really behaving as much of a founder of everything as many people, including myself, across the project. And so I want to thank you for that. And also the fact that even on this test, we have the Verus Coin Foundation here for some of the pre-allocation. And we want to thank you for supporting the platform effort that supports you and everyone else that would use the Verus network and platform for the new economy that we envision. So appreciate that this is here. Thanks for that.
As you know, we're one of the founders of the gold standards in self-sovereign identity and the work that we're doing. And we obviously believe that there is a golden rule that you can try and adopt, and that we would like to show leadership by leading, by giving the foundation 5%, such that everybody else would follow our lead and take that as the golden rule of the network. Of course, you don't have to do anything, but we think that's the right way to behave, because there's a huge amount of valuable work contributed, and everyone should have be able to contribute back to the core.
Thank you for your leadership on that. So the pre-launch carve out. Now these are funds that come out of the pre-launch participants pre-conversion funds. So this 3% will be to cover basic operating things, I assume, or other kinds of costs. But basically, these are funds that do not need to be converted from the value currency in order to be used in their original form of Verus test or USD or Bitcoin or ETH tokens. So just to be clear on what that is as part of the example and the dry run. And then right now on Testnet, we are, does anyone know, let me see. Actually, I don't want to move away, but I know that this block, this start block, will cause this currency to activate and leave its pre-launch phase within about 24 hours. So what that means is as soon as I actually launch this currency, then everyone worldwide who loads up Testnet will be able to see that currency and will be able to participate. Of course, if they don't have any Verus test or USD or Bitcoin or ETH tokens, they can come to the Discord, to the Verus Discord, the PBAS development channel, and ask for those currencies, and people will be happy to give them a basket, and they can participate in this pre-launch phase. They can get the 5% discount. Their wallets will be replete with the value that they purchased or that they converted to in the pre-launch phase when the currency launches, assuming that we meet the 5 million USD. And so I just wanted to kind of review all of this. We're actually ready to hit enter. And when I do, this is actually not going to immediately launch. What it's going to do is it's going to give us something that I will then launch. And this is not currency launches exactly in the GUI, but they're simple enough to just walk through and show what they're doing. We're ready to hit enter. Now I'm going to actually enter that in. When I do that, make the currency. And as messy as that was on the command line there, it looks all fine. It looks like the currency is made. And so now we'll hop over to the on the testnet, because that's where I want to find the currency. And once that is mined into the blockchain, it'll be available. Let's try this. Okay, got it. So I add the currency. Now, pre-convert to it. So let's pre-convert some dollars because I know that it's going to have a need to have some dollars. And we're going to send the dollars to value. And we're going to send that to, say, Mike. I'll send it to Mike. I'll send $1,000, which I have in the wallet. Right now, it expects $1,000. It's wrong on the price, but I'll send that. See what happens. So it tells me that for $1,000, right now, this is before other people participate, and it's because we have such low participation right now because we didn't meet our minimums. At the current pricing, if it would launch, I'd get over 1 million value coins. I'm going to pre-convert. So what happens is, now basically everyone in the world can go to the Verus desktop version 0.1. Now everyone in the world can go to the Verus desktop version 0.7.1-4, load the Verus testnet, and for the next 24 hours, participate and pre-convert into the value currency launch. Once it launches, people will still be able to buy it, of course, not with the pre-launch discount, and they will be able to sell it to any of the currencies that are in its reserves as well. It can be used both as something that you would purchase and hold, or you could use it to purchase, either hold or just convert to another currency with. So is what I wanted to show in terms of what we're actually able to do, and we have just actually launched that test currency now. If anybody's running the Verus testnet, take a look and maybe buy some of that currency for block 22,000 when it launches on Verus testnet. If we can get $5 million in, and of course we expect to get other currencies as well. So again, not a solicitation. We're talking about testnet coins, not a solicitation for investment. This is all a dry run of a currency that eventually do expect to really launch on the Verus network. But right now, you can just participate in test of one possible configuration of that currency. Any comments or thoughts from anyone on the? Any questions? Nick, do you want to say anything in conclusion that we might actually keep for posterity at all?
Yep. I just think it's an extremely important step that we've achieved, and I think that the community has done a tremendous job just looking at how simple and elegant the process is. This is, I have experience in this, an equivalent market, and, we could never have imagined something as efficient as this. It's really a milestone in decentralized finance. It's a milestone in self-sovereign identity. It's a milestone in friendly names, in revocability, recoverability. There's just so many incredible achievements that the community has made over what is a relatively short period of time. I have been looking for this since 2007, when I first invested in the original company, and have fought to get to this point where we could mutualize something of value and create a new reality for everybody who wants to change the game. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Nick. And thank you. And for that, as well as the fact that you really have a plan to use your patent portfolio to mutualize it for the benefit of people. And I think really, as I look at your plan, for the benefit of the entire crypto community as a way to move forward into this new world of decentralized finance. So really appreciate your vision as part of the community. So thanks.
I really do believe that we are one. We always hash to we are one. And I think that crypto communities have to come together. And I think that what you can enable with, and what you have enabled with, the ability to stake what will be Bitcoin and stake Ether to the Verus network will lead to great efficiencies and great unity amongst all of the projects.
All right. Well, thanks. Thank you. And Rozo or Englal or anyone else, anyone on this call would like to ask any questions or make any comments, or, you know, it's open.
Unfortunately, my mic was not on at the time, and I was making the comment and asking Mike, was this an independent blockchain that was launched, or is this a token that was launched on top of the Verus network?
Well, wait. That was not a PBAS chain, but the PBAS chain will be actually exactly about as easy to launch. That was not a PBAS chain, but and also there was no code. Those were just command line commands. They might, you know, they're not as friendly as the GUI, but it still wasn't code.
One of the very impressive things I was noticing as I was reading through the material is that there is a bridge being built on Verus to Ethereum. So essentially, you are building a token on Verus and Ethereum at the same time. Could you elaborate on that more, please?
Bridge that we're working on, that's actually, we're making good progress on that. That actually allows you, when you create a currency on Verus, you will be able to send that currency to the Ethereum blockchain after launch, you know, and have it pop out as a magic, like, I mean, not really magic, obviously, but it basically just does all the work for you to turn that into an ERC20 token that will just pop out on Ethereum. And similarly, but not exactly the same, you'll be able to define currencies that map to Ethereum currencies. So you'll be able to send back and forth when that is done. You know, we're working on as aggressive timescales as we can, but we're not promising exact dates. But when that's done, you'll be able to send from the Ethereum blockchain ERC20 tokens and Ethereum over to the Verus blockchain. You'll be able to use them in this way, and you'll be able to launch or use currencies or define currencies on the Verus blockchain and send them over as well to the Ethereum blockchain. So that's in progress, making good progress. We're hoping to get a version of that up on the Rinkeby testnet, so that it would be both on the ETH testnet and our testnet at the same time in the not too distant future, so that we can actually play around with that stuff, which would be really cool. But yeah, that's one of the really exciting things about it, is that there's not really a downside that, you know, to doing it this way, because you can still use all the, you know, I want to say older infrastructure. I don't want to insult anybody or you know, but you can use all of that if that's what you choose to use.
Vintage infrastructure.
Vintage. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. So you know, you can get all of the simultaneous solutions of liquidity and, you know, DeFi and scalability of PBAS chains, and you know, easy Kickstarter like minimums and launches and all of these things. And you don't have to give up writing, you know, Solidity apps if you really want to. You have other options too, though, of course.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you can use Solidity programming in order to create smart contracts on Verus as well. What about other codes like C++?
I mean, yeah, I mean, so the thing is right now, you know, we're using smart transactions to build this technology, and basically defining the protocol and then creating the transaction, recognized transaction outputs to implement those protocols. And just as when we got started, you know, and I talked to JL777 at the beginning and said, so if we were to launch with a friendly fork of Komodo, and we wanted to do all sorts of new technology, you know, would we still be able to leverage photo notarization, some level of compatibility, you know, and, you know, things that we actually turn out we're going to be leveraging some of the Komodo notarization technology as well in some of what we're doing. So, you know, we have our own auto notarization technology, and we're going to be compatible with Komodo notarization technology as well. And what JL777 said at the time, which is very relevant to what you're asking, is, you know, you can start with something that's fully compatible. You can diverge from what Komodo is or what the Komodo asset chains are to your heart's content, as long as you just maintain the compatibility at the notarization level. These are fully independent. And when people start a PBAS chain, they will be able to make their own rules. I would argue that the people who are making these kinds of systems should actually be able to develop those systems in Rust or C++, not just Solidity. And the fact is that you end up with so today, if you look at like Brave and their use of BAT, you know, I would argue that most, in fact, almost all of their actual application around all of what BAT enables is not Solidity code. You know, they have Solidity code that they use just to kind of interface with their model on the Ethereum blockchain, but their decentralized applications and all of what really makes their system work resembles, in many ways, kind of a hybrid between, you know, what people think of as Solidity apps, where the Solidity part's very small, and then a lot of a system that actually has to deal with real world issues on a constant basis. So with Verus, at first, people will be able to either use the Verus capabilities on the Verus blockchain or make their own PBAS chain in their own project, integrate with Solidity, or integrate with their own system that they define, and they can diverge radically as long as they remain common with the interchain and interoperability protocols. It's not really that hard to do. And so each project is really interoperable, can be integrated, can leverage all the capabilities that we're building in the core community and in the core Verus platform, but they can diverge and create their own unique value as well, and just stay compatible at the protocol level for merge mining, for cross-chain notarization, for sending transactions between different blockchains, and even for leveraging things like the ETH bridge. Those will be available to other chains in the network as well. So I hope that answers your question on the application side. I see the application development model as you know, much broader in the model of start by writing a Solidity contract, because many DApps have the bulk of their really hard work outside of that.
That's absolutely incredible. It really sounds like the possibilities are just endless. I mean, you're talking about developers and coders that can come from all different sectors of the tech world and be able to build on the technology or the coding that they've already know, and be able to produce these platforms and applications and different things for the new finance world. Very incredible.
I think you can make the comparison that this is to the blockchain what Stripe was to payments.
Well, no way. I actually, wait, I'm sorry. I don't think of this as a company, or I don't think any company. I honestly, maybe it's just me, but I don't think there's a company.
Not in a company sense, but in terms of the ease of use and the ease of implementation for developers. That's
I
what
see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Stripe was noted for the fact that it got
massive
massive dev adoption because it was simple and it's 5 lines of code.
But in this, I mean, literally, I know you guys are calling these commands code. I know as a developer who works in actual C++ and you know, other Python or JavaScript or Rust or whatever it happens to be, that I might be a little jaded. But technically, these really aren't exactly code, and these functions will be in the GUI. And also, anyone can write GUIs for this. That's the beauty of it. This is a protocol. So, you know, there are so many applications that are actually already enabled. It's more a matter of people just need to find out how to do them. And we've been focusing on making all of these possible. As soon as we get all of these things together and out on mainnet, we'll really start focusing on helping everyone understand how to leverage it as much as possible.
What would you call that, just out of interest, Mike? If you gave it a name, if it's not code, it's command.
Oh, which? Oh, it's just, yeah, the command. That's just a CLI command. Those are just a command line. Some crazy people like me and other Linux users, you know, use that as their wallet. Like they don't use the GUI. We don't use the GUI that much. We actually just use those commands as the way that we use the wallet. It might seem strange, but it's like a DOS. It's like before the GUI in Windows, you know, people use commands on the DOS command line. It's the command line.
So simple. So refer it to as simple commands rather than simple code.
Yeah, it isn't code. It's command. It's their
exactly.
Command
That's
line.
that's what you're making. Yeah. That's what you're making. Come on.
So something else that I've noticed that's very fascinating is when you're launching your token on the Verus network, you're actually launching a basket of currencies at the same time, which also gives you instant liquidity to the currencies in that basket. That's absolutely amazing because you don't have to worry about getting on exchanges or anything. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, you know, as any crypto project ever that tried to start as a fair project or started, you know, with really a focus on trying to create something new without the ICO, you know, without a giant pre-mine or a giant dev fee, really just the original Bitcoin model, or most projects, even when they start with pre-mines, if they didn't do an ICO and they're not flush with lots of funds for paying for liquidity and getting onto exchanges and things like that, it is a real challenge to get onto trustworthy exchanges. And, you know, and we really made the decision to fast track the liquidity side of the protocol was when we had a challenge with one of the centralized exchanges that we were listed on. And we just decided, you know, we are not going to depend on that anymore. And not only that, but every project that starts needs liquidity in one way or another. And so how about, instead of just having to start the project and then spend a whole bunch of energy on figuring out how to get listed in different places, you could start immediately with liquidity, and you could start immediately with fungibility. And, you know, if you have a model that works for people, it's absolutely fair. It can be, you know, the same as a fair launch. There doesn't have to be anything that is a transaction where someone's actually, you know, selling value to the currency, as in the case of Archetype. Someone could launch a completely fair convertible chain that represented, you know, climate change, that represented some major thing in the world that someone wanted to change, and if they donate a pre-allocation of that to something that really matters, then the more people who use that currency, the more that value will go up. But from day one, the whole thing is liquid and fungible. And no project that starts this way needs to worry and stress themselves about going to get, you know, listed as one of their primary things, when a lot of times, you know, really truly innovative and idealistic projects want to spend their time on building what it is that's unique about them, not on finding liquidity. And so just natively, the currency is natively convertible on the blockchain between all of those currencies and itself. So it's automatic. It's just like blockchain convertible to Verus test, to USD, to Bitcoin, and to Ethereum tokens, which with the decentralized bridge will be able to be sent back and forth between Ethereum and Verus, for example.
That's absolutely incredible, especially for a new project that really needs liquidity, that from instantaneously they will have liquidity to whatever they decide to use as a basket. Like, and for this example, it's Ethereum, BTC, USD, and Verus. I think that's a revolutionary breakthrough, especially for these smaller projects or your mom and pop type outfits that could use blockchain technology and their outfits. And not to mention the accessibility that it might be for college students or even Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, or other applications to just be able to launch their own blockchain with very simplicity.
And at the lowest cost and at the most scalable architecture.
Yeah, I mean, so yes, you're absolutely right. And that's because that's what I believe we should always be doing, is making things better for the people who come after us, you know? And so the point that actually Nick just made is also important to mention, is yes, you can convert, you'll be able to convert this currency. You can already participate in the pre-launch for the next day on Testnet using any of these currencies, and you can get those currencies by going to the Discord and asking. But once it launches and is live, you know, once it's live and after its start block, you'll be able to convert it to and from all of these currencies. And if a bunch of people convert to that currency using, say, the USD token or the Verus test token, and a bunch of people convert from that currency to those same tokens, everyone in the same block of transactions that process that, going in either direction, get exactly the same price with no spread. It's always the most fair price in all directions. It is almost comical with how much there is, and I don't want to make a joke about it because it's all there. But yes, it's actually literally one of the challenges is that we're literally enabling so much, and enough of it is just completely new or solving problems that hadn't been solved before. That the challenge that people have is how to describe what this entire system is, and even when you get to the point of scalability, the whole system scales out like a fractal network of blockchains.
This technology you've built is going to revolutionize the blockchain ecosystem. We really appreciate all the hard work.
Yeah, well, thanks for helping make all this happen. Everybody, you know, who's been part of this is who's made this happen. So, you know, I work on code, and I'd be working on code, and this wouldn't have happened if we didn't have all the people in the community who we have. So, developers, all the people who actually make these, you know, these recordings, get the word out, figure out how to actually make the incredible videos you made, the companies that have the vision like Archetype and you know, also happen to have large portfolio assets that can be mutualized with this technology. I mean, everybody involved in this across the community, and you know, and I'm going to miss so many people. I mean, like I see people on this call who have done so much to help contribute in writing articles or understanding things. You know, you got All Bits and Crypto 278 who's helped out, and you know, Dudes Moby who's running the staking pool. And I'm gonna stop because there's just like, there's been so much work across the community to make this happen. And although people might not always realize how important a role they play, you know, whether it's Oink or someone else who obviously has a critical role in the community, this is the sum. It's more than the sum of what everyone contributes. That's the truth.
Thank you, Mike. This is absolutely incredible the vision that you've had, along with everybody that has helped, along with the community, all the other developers. I have watched this shape up over the last couple of years, and it is absolutely amazing what you have shown us today in this demo. And I really look forward to the future. Thank you, everybody, for coming and checking out the demonstration that we've had. Make sure to join our Discord. We'll be doing more demos and more teaching classes. And as you just saw on the screen, the link didn't work for some reason. It was taking forever to load, but make sure to click that link on our website, veruscoin.io. And thanks again for participating. See you guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks, Rozo. Thanks, Nick and Archetype and Value and everyone on the call. Thank you.